Hello. I've just been watching the 1993 film Gettysburg. Great war film, if you haven't seen it. Um, and after watching that, I'll talk more about that at another time because I've always had a big interest in the American Civil War. And I believe it's a hugely underrated film. But anyway, um, this video is very spontaneous because literally I've just finished the film and I'm just browsing online as you do, and came across a video called Authentic, or the title is Most Authentic Ghost Footage Ever. Now, before you switch off and think, oh, this is, hear me out. Um, I'm not a skeptic, but nor am I sort of like so superstitious that I believe every single video that looks strange. I think I've got a healthy balance. I say a healthy balance because I believe that human beings have evolved over time, and over a long time actually, to rationalize everything. Sort of going from the age of enlightenment onwards, everything has had to have a scientific basis and reason and so on. Um, without wanting to sound like I'm bringing a religious theme into this, that has been a definite trend of the human mind. And it's a completely understandable trend because we justifiably respect science and cold, concrete, physical things. So, for instance, I know that behind me there's glass bottles. I know there's a stack of newspapers. I know I'm sitting on a red chair. These are all physical, plausible things that I can see. Um, so that's why there's a natural reaction of cynics to say, ghosts are, it's a figment of your imagination. It's something that, anyway, to get to the point, in this particular video, it's about 50 seconds long. I've seen it before. It's a few years old now. There's some people in there, they're looking at what appears to be a sort of it's on the Gettysburg battlefield in Pennsylvania. And if you've ever been to Gettysburg, I have when I was 13, but I remember it pretty well. It covers quite a large area. The battlefield area covers quite a large area, and there's a lot of different sort of sections. Well, this video appears to be showing a brick wall, and I'm guessing they don't specify where it is in the video, but I'm guessing it's the cornfield where Pickett's charge was fought. If you're not familiar with the history of that, Pickett's charge was the fatal last day of the battle when General Pickett led Confederate forces. He was a subordinate of General James Longstreet, and he led 12,500 men. There were other commanders as well, like Lewis Armistead, um, Trimble, Pettigrew. If you're a Civil War buff, you'll know the people I'm talking about. 12,500 Confederates over those fields. Over 1,000 were killed, many hundreds more wounded. It was a total catastrophe, 50% casualties, and it very much came to epitomize the lost cause of the Confederacy. Anyway, in the video, you need to watch closely and you need a little bit of patience because it takes a bit of time before you see it. But there is clearly something climbing over the wall that cannot be dismissed as some sort of animal. It's not a fox. It's not a. Don't know if they have wolves in Pennsylvania, but it clearly looks like a human figure. It looks, frankly, like Confederate infantrymen crossing over the wall. And I find that very hard to ignore. Now, if this is an elaborate hoax, then you have to say, well, in what context did they get people to dress up and just tell them to go over the wall? And if that's the case, that this was not a very visual thing. It was not a very sort of plausible. It wasn't like someone in a costume. It was a figure, but it wasn't like throughout the whole video, so I don't think it could be dismissed that way. A photographic hoax, we can't rule that out because it's been done before, but you need people who really, really know photography. These people sound like, without any disrespect towards them, they sound like Jill and Joe average. They don't sound like they would be people who are, experts at this sort of thing. Not that there are. Um, I mean, not that there's an easy way to tell that, but There has been photographic hoaxes. For example, in the UK, we had this is a country, of course, just like the United States, is fascinated by ghosts and ghost stories. We had a famous photo called the Wem Girl ghost, and basically, there's a small town in Shropshire called Wem, very small place, maybe a few thousand people. In, I believe it was 1995, the town hall burnt down. During that fire, a photographer took a picture, and it showed a young girl, maybe in her early teens, standing amidst the flames. Very ghostly looking face, very creepy. It's quite a famous photo. You can Google it. Anyway, everyone thought this was the apparition of a young girl who had died in another fire in the town in 1677. Anyway, someone done research and it subsequently emerged that the figure is exactly the same as that taken from an Edwardian postcard. So it was basically an elaborate hoax. Um, although the person who took the photo has robustly denied that. But in terms of what's the motivation for hoaxes, well, financial, of course, getting money from newspapers and so on, maybe to get their moment of fame, maybe for a laugh. There's a lot of different reasons. But I don't think we should simply dismiss. It is important that we are critical. It is important to ask questions and not to blindly believe everything. But I also believe, and I've been to Gettysburg, I can tell you, if you haven't been, it has an atmosphere. Of course, it's going to have an atmosphere. Over 7,000 men died, thousands more were wounded. It's a place of real sorrow. It's like any great battlefield. Like the Somme is the same thing. It's going to have an atmosphere. So if it's not a case of ghosts, at the very least, I do believe there is something beyond, let's say, physical, tangible, materialistic, try to find the right word here, um, property that we can see. There is something beyond that. And I do believe that in a place that has had great tragedy like a warfare or major disaster, in many situations it is inevitable that there is some sort of energy. I do believe in the theory that where there has been great tragedy, human energy, literally electrophysical um, energy can be trapped in that environment. Say, for example, you have a murder in a house. That room where the murder took place is always going to have an energy. Um, Obviously, the knowledge of it has plays on people's mind, but not far from where I live, a few streets away, there was an asylum seeker murdered about 10 years ago. And to this day, as I walk past that street, I get a slight, I wouldn't say fear, but just a wariness of what happened there. And the house where it happened is a completely normal house. It's actually above a newsagent's now. But just knowing that does make me feel slightly wary of the fact. So I think that there's definitely something in that. This is a subject that interests me a lot. I'm going to leave it there for now, but I'll put a link to that video. Let me know your thoughts. All I would say is do be respectful. If you don't believe it, that's fine. I'm not saying people have to believe it. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just saying that there's definitely something in that, but keep it respectful. I don't like when people come out with rubbish like fake and gay on these videos. I mean, you can disagree, you can say it's fake, but at least I don't see why people have to be crude and disrespectful about it. Um, if someone has been exposed as a hoaxer, that's a different matter. But all I'm saying is there's a slight arrogance to this notion that just because something isn't physical, that it's not real. There's a slightly arrogant attitude to that, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you.